My name is Jacinta, and I am your host and creator of Stormproof, Living with Invisible Illnesses. The reason for this podcast is to help ones like myself who are chronically ill, not to just survive, but to see past the storms and see the warrior inside themselves. I have 4 or maybe 5 chronic invisible illnesses. On the outside, I look just as healthy as can be, but the old adage, looks can be deceiving, comes into play here. I'll tell you a little bit about myself in this episode, what the purpose of this podcast is for, and how I want to help the community of us warriors not to give up, but to continue fighting. Here's a little bit about me. I was born in 1982 in Washington, D.C. I was a high-risk pregnancy due to my mother having placenta previa. She was on bed rest for 5 months due to the risk of bleeding out. But thankfully, I was born safely with no complications at birth. Unfortunately, those came later in life. Let me explain that. As long as I can remember, I've always had pain in my chest. It didn't matter what I was doing, where I was going. I was always having pain in my chest, and I would always have to go to Children's Hospital. And they would always come back and say, "Oh, it's just growing pains, so you're fine." I knew something was going on, but to constantly have doctors tell you that it's all in your mind, it's all growing pains, that will really get to you. I know it got to me. I actually got depressed at a young age, and I was suffering in silence. I couldn't tell anyone because I didn't know what exactly was wrong with me, besides the fact that no doctor believed that a child could even have depression. And why is that? The things I've heard over and over again, "Oh, you're too young to be depressed. You don't have anything to be depressed about. You don't have any jobs. You don't have any money, stress, or anything to be depressed about." Having those things continually told to me over and over and over again didn't help. It only hurt me more. Then to add that, my physical health started to go bad. I was continually having the chest pains, and as the doctors would call, growing pains. The pain never went away. It actually got worse as I have gotten older. I'll speak more about that later. In 1993, I was involved in a car accident. I hit my head on the beads that people use in their cars. And we were hit. My head hit the beads, and for over 30 years, I have now been fighting with epilepsy. In 1998 was when I was actually diagnosed with epilepsy. I had to have a hysterectomy due to endometriosis in 2006. It was a partial hysterectomy. Full hysterectomy in 2007 because of an ovarian cyst that was about to rupture. Ring into that. Menopause. Yay me! I was finally diagnosed with severe major depression, fibromyalgia, migraine headaches, and other chronic invisible illnesses. Remember those chest pains I mentioned earlier? Well, I was diagnosed in 2020 with the cause, sickle cell beta thalassemia. Why was I just diagnosed after 20-something years of being in pain? Well, the type that I have is not like the ones that doctors are familiar with. So, I'm in constant pain. That's just a little bit about me. We'll get into more about me at another time in another episode. Now, in regards to this podcast, I want to be able to change some things. Let's redefine glamour. Let's redefine warrior. Let's redefine celebrity. When we think of those words, what comes to mind? Usually, we think of ones on the big screen, or ones who are on the radio selling out concerts and who have millions and billions of followers, right? But what about us? What makes us and our situations glamorous? What makes us a warrior or a celebrity? Not according to the world standards, but according to our own standards. The fact that we are not just surviving, but continuing to fight makes us these things and more. The fact that we have a voice that cannot be ignored makes each of these things more. The fact that even though we may be exhausted, in pain, worn out, we may want to give up, but we don't, makes us each of these things and more. Let's look at ourselves in the mirror every single day and tell ourselves that I am my own warrior. I am my own celebrity. I am glamorous in my own way. There is nobody like you in the world. There is nobody like me in the world. Nobody is fighting the same fight as you. That means that you have a choice as to whether you will win or not. Let's stand up together as a community and help each other, encourage each other, cheer for each other. When one has a good day, let's cheer them on. When one has a not so good day, that's the time to gather together to build one another up. That's what makes us different. We have so much against us. So much in this medical field has to catch up to what we are all dealing with. So let's keep on working towards the goal of change together. Stay tuned for the next episode. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast or have someone in mind who has conquered despite their chronic illnesses, or if you have questions or comments, please send us an email. If you found this podcast helpful, encouraging, or useful, please click that subscribe button, like, share, and rate this episode with your family and friends. There are so many of us who suffer in silence, and we all need a voice. Share, share, share this podcast on all of your social media accounts and with your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.